Welcome back to the Hypervision podcast. No, what are you looking around for?
I heard a noise. I think it's my water bottle. I don't know. All good though. We back.
Okay, I thought there was like an intruder in the room or
No,
something.
no, we're good.
Okay, you just looked concerned. I didn't know.
We're good.
All right. Yeah, welcome back to the Hypervision podcast. It's me and Noah as per usual. We're also joined by our Tyler's probably been on here more. Our second most tenured guest. We have Ian with us today. How you doing? Hang on, I think your mic just broke for a second.
he was barking too loud, man.
Is my mic?
You might have to plug it back in real quick or something. I don't know.
Oh no, is it not working out?
It was working fine up until we started.
Oh god,
It's like rattling or something. I don't know if the plug is messed up.
what? Okay, then bro, because
It's Bluetooth and it's doing this?
it's not. So
I don't know what just happened here, man. It was working clear up until now.
Fine. I can finish my food.
I'm not getting anything.
Oh. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Peace and grease. I'm just kidding.
It's gonna be a fun edit.
Yeah, right. Told some buddies I played some Warzone. But
all right, I have returned.
There we go.
All right.
Okay, 10 times better. My bad, y'all.
There it is. Clear as a day now.
I just love how it was working just fine. And all of a sudden, we
It's the
started.
moment we record, it was just.
It was a bark. I shouldn't have barked.
All
right. Back to it. Yeah. So joined by Ian. Ian, how are we doing?
I'm good. I'm doing well. I'm well.
Yeah. So we got a few topics playing with Ian. We talked about a couple already with him. Before we get into that, me and Noah got some things. Obviously, we got our normal things. Shout out sponsors, aka shout out Josiah. That's it. Check out the website. Obviously, we got stuff on there. We're eventually gonna get a blog on there. I've talked to a couple people about it, but we'll get there one day. But me and Noah, we had a conversation today. We saw this video that this guy that we both watched kind of that he did of like I guess it's a health and fitness challenge or whatever you want to call it. It's called the 75 Hard. Ian, I don't know if you've heard about it. We're not doing the 75 hard is what I'm going to say to start this because that's stupid. It's like 2 workouts a day that are 45 minutes. Like, and if you do like a 2-hour workout, that doesn't count as your 2 things. Like, you got to have 2 separate workouts, and one has to be outside. It's December. I'm not doing that. So that's one thing we changed. You got to drink 3.5 liters of water. You got to read 10 pages of a nonfiction book every day. You've got to do something with your diet, like change it up and make it better, obviously. Progress picture every day, and no alcohol. That's the 6 things. So we're starting it tomorrow, December 12th, going until February 29th, and we're calling it the 80 Moderate. So our 6 things are going to be, most of them are kind of the same or just around the same thing. 1 workout, no, not that. 5 workouts a week, so you get like 2 days off because I want a break. I don't need to work out 7 days a week for 75 straight days.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. And I don't have the same kind of time that Instagram and YouTube influencers do, so I can't fit in all of those things. I'm sure I could, but I'm not going to. The alcohol, it was no alcohol the entire 75 days.
Easy.
I have moderated that to could be, but I just don't see the point of needing to do that. I'm not at a place where I feel like it needs to be cut out of my life. That is a maximum I'm doing of 3 drinks a week. I can't have any more across the 7 days a week. 15 pages of any book. I don't care what you read, but 15 pages is what I changed it to. Because 10 seemed easy to me. In my head, 10 just seemed like a really low number. But I do realize it's every day, and I did the math. That's like 1,200 pages.
I mean,
so
10, I think 10 pages a day isn't even that bad. No, I mean,
yeah, I know, but there's gonna be those days, like where you don't do it in the morning or whatever, and it's late at night, and you're just like, then I'm gonna be like, oh, it's 10 pages, we could have been done, but then 5 more now. Yeah, I don't know. It on paper, in my mind, it just sounded silly that it was only 10, but it is for 80 days now. The diet thing we're keeping. I still haven't decided what my diet thing is actually going to be, besides like cutting down on soda. I don't have a number for that. I'm not going to cut it out because obviously I'm still going to drink soda at some point, probably. But I don't have so we'll figure that out. Cut out the progress picture because I didn't really care. You can just do that if you feel like it any time of your life.
You said
and then
eating out less, right?
Yeah, that'd be another thing for my diet. Yeah, eating out less. And then took out the progress picture and put in I just said like a personal goal or like a personal mental goals, I think is what I called it. We kept the 3.5 liters of water. That's also the last thing there. But personal mental goal, you can pick whatever you want that to be, kind of. If there's just something you've been wanting to do, and now you're going to put it towards something that is something you're committing to, I guess. I did on work days, waking up at 7, and outside of work days, being up at 9, if I don't have anything going on. So, because today I woke up very late, and very late. So, it's something I need to change and fix and get better with. And I mean, it's just better. You have the morning, you do things in the morning. You, at least from what I've heard and experienced, when you wake up early enough and have a good morning, and don't just roll out of bed, shower, and head to work. It's a much nicer time, and you feel better. So that's my 6. Noah, you can say if I don't know actually if you've changed certain parts of it for you, because that's the thing is I don't care. I've told a lot of people about it. I don't care what you change. Honestly, it's your challenge.
Yeah, no. I think I took a few things. Certainly the alcohol and the soda. I mean, I don't think I do that often, but I think I can. I think that'll be a good one to just kind of not necessarily like you said eliminate, but just obviously cut down on. Uh, Another one was getting back more into my faith as well. I think that was a personal goal, personal mental goal as well. And yeah, I like the getting up one too. I think that's good. Although I do love sleep, so that one does kind of hurt, but I think it's good. Um,
I think it just means I'm gonna have to go to bed earlier is the only thing.
eh,
Because like I told you last night when I texted you, is like the reason I woke up so late is because I went to bed at 2 on a work night.
yeah,
That's the reason why waking up and being at work by 8:30 was
I'm
so
telling,
hard for me is because
telling you,
I
man.
got 5 and 6 hours of sleep.
I'm telling you, man. If you like get into a routine, wake up and make your bed. It's so good. It's so good.
My bed is storage.
Look at
What do you
this.
mean? The other half of my bed is storage.
How do I do this? Doing this live on the fly. I don't know how to.
You gonna make your bed on the fly?
No. I was gonna attempt to show you. Okay, don't worry about me. But yeah, that's kind of.
I know your bed's made. I know it looks like a cleaning crew came in there. like it's a fresh hotel room.
So yeah,
could bounce a quarter on that thing.
bounce a quarter. It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Whoops.
But yeah, we're gonna start that the 12th. By the time this podcast is out, it's the 18th probably. It's my guess.
Yeah.
And whenever you hear it, I don't know. But we're gonna post about it. I'm gonna post on a Hypervision story of how I do each day. So you guys will be seeing it before it's even talked about on this. But I mean, yeah, that's just like if you want to join it, that's what we're doing all the way through February. Yeah. I don't know. There's that. Other people, Isaac said he'd do it. Another one of Tyler's friends, Brendan, said he would do it. Andrew said he's going to do it. He's calling it his hard 6. So make fun of him for that one.
Oh, I'm sorry, I had to laugh. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, that's
That's
what me and
good.
Noah are doing. Because for 2 things, then I'll segue into Ian a little bit. Not like that.
Hey, yo.
One, we've talked about the whole, like in the wintertime, you don't do you get to the point where like you didn't think you did the things you wanted to the rest of the year. You're getting towards the end of the year, and then it's the dark time, sad time, whatever you want to call it, and however you want to word it or think about it. I don't know. This kind of seems like a way to maybe counteract that or fight it a little bit. Constantly giving yourself something to work towards and something that they're all little things, like reading a little bit of a book, waking up earlier, eating something that's not McDonald's, like all really small things. It's not like you're going and getting a new job, you're going and moving somewhere, you're going and making new friends, getting engaged, all these kinds of things. Those are big things. These are really small things, but constantly fixing those habits and getting better at that, I think, is what, can lift you up out of any period of like a lull or just, combat, these dark times, as people would call them. But also, I'm not gonna hit all 6 all 80 days. I know for sure it's gonna happen. I'm gonna slip up somewhere, but I want it to be like a very, very high percentage, I think.
Yeah.
And then the other part, segueing, is like Ian's first topic, and I'll throw that out there now that we talked about doing. When I texted him, he said he was really. I'm struggling to get to the text message now to get it word for word, but hang on. When I asked him if like he had any ideas, he said it'd be interesting to discuss finding meaning in the mundane and the moments in between. Um, that's 80-day challenge where you're constantly doing things for yourself to better yourself. There's going to be a lot of time across December 12th to February 29th where we could just be sitting there kind of just like, it's one of those nights. You got a free night, but you're not doing anything with it. Or just like you had plans didn't happen, or you get home from anything, whatever it is. And you're just kind of sitting there. And then mostly that would be one of those nights where it's like, it's a cold winter night. I'm not going to go do anything. Nobody's on Xbox. All my friends are busy right now. I'm not going to go hang out with them. That's where those thoughts settle in.
Yeah.
Just like any lapse in your concentration or whatever, it's just whatever it is that, gets to you whenever you're alone with your thoughts and it's not a great night.
I just like it because I think it's gonna be just a real mental thing, especially during the holidays. We got what, Christmas Eve, you got Christmas, obviously, you got
Yeah.
New Year's stuff. I just think
Boom, boom.
yeah, just
Yeah.
I think it's gonna get some
Constantly going.
discipline, mental toughness. So yeah, it's good.
But yeah, I mean, it's something that I think across these next almost 3 months will really help me to not have as many lapses, probably, because I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, I don't really have anything to do. I guess I'll just waste my day away, go scroll on my phone, go watch a YouTube video and call it a night. I can sit there, I go, oh, I have a list. I got 15 pages to read tonight. I got to go do a workout. I got to, whatever it is on there, like I got to go do that. Like I got to go make a good meal. I got to go find something that's not Penn Station, greasy sub with a huge thing of fries and a cookie the size of my face. I can't do that.
That sounds so good.
As good as that sounds. But yeah, I think that's something that I think, at least going into this, is something that I'm really gonna benefit from. But I'll stop talking now. We do have Ian here for a reason. I don't know. I guess if you want to open with, because you kind of have 2 or 3 topics you said you wanted to go into. I don't know where you want to delve.
No, I think you guys talking about the challenge you're going to hit is very interesting, because at the end of the year, my brain tends to shift to thinking, what is it that I accomplished this year, and what is it that I want to do in the next year. And I find the timing of you guys choosing to start this challenge very interesting, in that you're not necessarily waiting for the new year to do something, um, but you're starting it now and going into the new year. And the reason I thought of meaning in the mundane is that everyone talks about your mid 20s kind of being this super exciting time. Frankly, I've found it to be quite the opposite. Um, that yes, you have your friends and you're quote unquote young, um, but it's a weird time where the majority of my friends, they do the same thing that I do. They hang out, whenever they're not working, and then they work, and you can kind of see the malaise that, for all intents and purposes, shade to older generations, but the malaise that I think a lot of our parents fell into, and our parents' parents, where it's you graduate college, you get a good job, you work, you have kids, um, and you buy a house, and you do this, and it just repeats the cycle. Um, and you start to think about, what does it mean to live a life of intentionality? Uh, what does it mean to see the beauty in the beauty in that cycle, and say that I want more? And I'm not someone that thinks about money. If I wanted money, I wouldn't have been a writer, believe me. Um, but I've realized that getting more out of life isn't necessarily not following that path of get a job, save up, get married, have kids, buy a house, whatever it may be. But it's acknowledging that that pathway is, the one that a lot of us are going to be on. So how do you make it meaningful? It means that you infuse each day with a sense of purpose and a sense of longing and a sense of grounding and meaning. And so it's interesting that you guys bring up this challenge, because I think that's one of the things that I've realized is that you need those personal challenges as you go through the mundaneness of your day to day existence, um, to curate meaning for yourself. It's why we have belief systems. It's why we have, as Noah, you were saying that you want to get back into your faith more. It's why we have those things. Is that those ideas and those instances, they kind of act like a wide net where you grab life and you bring it in for all that it is, and you don't say that things are a way because that's just how it is. Instead, you ask, well, why is it that way? And I think doing that challenge, it kind of grounds both of you guys into saying, well, why is life this way, and what can we do about it? What are ways that we can improve? And that's how you find meaning in the mundane. um, there's a philosopher I've been really, really in love with in the past 4 months, 5 months, since I started living on my own fully. Um, and that is, well, there's two. There's obviously Albert Camus, who my love affair with him dates back to my last year of grad school. And then there's Olga Jacobi, and she was this um, mother who was dying of a terminal illness at the start of the 20th century, and she was seeing a doctor who was very Catholic, um, and she was very atheist, and she would write letters to the doctor, and they'd have these big theological debates. And I found her definition of finding meaning in the mundane of life to be so beautiful, where she says, I live life to do good simply for the reason that it is good, not because some God tells me that it is good. And that's the idea I kind of wanted to bring onto this podcast, in that, in what ways do you guys try to orient yourself in the day to day with life to figure out why life is worth living, one, and similarly to this challenge that you guys are starting, in what ways can we get more out of life?
No, you want to take it first?
I just want to. I tell you what, I really do appreciate listening to Ian talk. I think he speaks with like this level of intelligence that like I understand, and like it makes sense, and I don't know, it's just very clear, concise. So I'm gonna preface it with that. Um, That's a pretty loaded question, but it's a good one. Ah, I don't know, man. That's really good. Can you repeat it again? I will answer. I promise.
No, in essence, um, well, it was a two-part question, but I'll ask it in one part for the sake of brevity. When you're constructing your maps of meaning, right? When you're constructing and maps of meaning in the terms of orienting yourself in the world and in society, what are ways, similarly to the challenge that you guys are starting, what are ways in which you both ground yourself in your definition of the world around you and strive for more, or strive for in your day-to-day life the essence of our existence that reminds you that everything you do matters? In what ways do you create community or meaning or define meaning?
Drew, you sure you don't got this first?
I don't know, because like I mean, this is stuff we've talked about a lot recently,
Yeah, I mean,
and I think that's where my mind is with it.
yeah.
Like,
So first thing I thought of was family. Like what I'm doing now. Like
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm working towards, uh, I'm doing this, for my family. They never gave up on me. That's where my mind went first of all. But then obviously, it goes deeper to, personal goals. Why am I doing what I'm doing, for
Mm-hmm.
myself? Um, so uh, yeah, but yeah, you're right, Drew. I mean, we've talked about it. I mean, uh, what else did we say? I mean, we talked about what family, friends, things like that. Um,
I mean, like with us talking about it, I think my full answer is that I don't have a full answer because I'm more in the part of where like I'm finally starting to think about these things, I think.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
And like actually talk about them and realize that like I didn't do a lot for myself for a lot of my life, like truly for myself. Like obviously I didn't neglect myself. I made it here. I got through college, I got through high school, I got a job.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like, we talked about uh, you know, doing things for yourself and finally like, focusing on building yourself up, focusing on being a better you so you can actually do things that you want to do.
Why do you think for so
um
long? I think because I can feel in essence similarly to your experience, Drew, of not doing enough or not doing as much for yourself. Why do you think it took you so long to reach this point? I guess what events along the way that you thought were just another Tuesday that you can see is pointing you in the direction to where you're at now, where you spend a lot of time in self-reflection and you.
mm. See, I don't really know. It just kind of like I was just telling Noah, like I'd be like, I don't know, I've been thinking about this, and it then those thoughts just come up, kind
Mm-hmm.
of. um I think a little bit of it, like we've said before, is like the way we lived our lives, and like how the reason I'm doing this challenge to fix so many of these little things that like are habits that don't work for like that do work, but like they're not good habits that I have in my life of how
Mm-hmm.
I've lived since I met you pretty much sophomore year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
Like I haven't changed my lifestyle since then, really. Like we're still about to go play FIFA when we get done with this. um like I just got so comfortable in that,
Mm-hmm.
because like it worked. It got me through the day, like it got me through high school, it got me through college. Like everything I did between when I wake up and when I eventually go to bed, how I act, how I treat other people, how I eat, how I, you know, what kind of sleep I get, my personal hygiene, which I mean, it's good enough. I didn't get complaints about how I smell it ever. Um, Axe body spray. Uh, just like everything, all the little things that make up who you are, and that like that you do throughout your day that no one really notices,
Mm-hmm.
but like it's just what you do.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was just so comfortable in that because I knew it worked, that like I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to change it, but like I'd look at these things like I should take better care of myself, I should eat better, I should work out more, I should read more, or I should talk to people more, or I should be more open with my emotions or figure out a way to handle them better, all these kinds of things. And I just like, yeah, I guess I could do that. Because I told Noah once, like, do you think it's almost that you think you get made fun of? Because like we always joke like, oh, that guy's got his life together, like, oh well, you go to bed at 11 p.m. or you, all these kinds of things, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's sarcasm. And I think a little bit of that, for maybe just for me, it's just that like kind of wish I was like that, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Because there, and maybe I don't like to delineate mass differences or generalize mass differences between genders, because gender is such a fluid construct. But there is a level of, in my mind, presuppositions of how you're supposed to be as a adolescent male identifying individual, and I find it eerily similar, and I find it eerie just in general that all three of us come from different life experiences, yet we somewhat also experience the same transfixion and kind of elevation. Like when you're going through that 16, 17, 18, 19, for me, 20, 21, to where I'm at now, it was this constant feeling of living up to these unsaid assumptions of what you're supposed to be like as a man. Um, and I think those assumptions also prevent us from doing the necessary inner work to find the value in taking the mundane action of going to bed at 11 o'clock at night seriously. And so then it lends our hand to be like, oh, look at that guy, And it does, in my mind and in my heart, I knew whenever I would say something, it came out of honestly jealousy, where I was just like, he was able to break out of that assumption for who he was, or that social agreement of what you're supposed to be as a 19-year-old man, and do the thing that is good for an investment in his future. He had the discipline that I didn't have. And I find that very interesting, that kind of regardless of our lived experience throughout childhood, there is that point. And maybe it's a critique on larger society that, how we always joke about, like, oh, men used to go to war and now we're screaming at FIFA, right? But I do think part of that is true, right? Like at 18, our parents' generation went to go fight to stop fascism from taking over the world. That's just a little bit different than us,
Playing
gearing up to
Xbox.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think a part of it is that as society's needs have changed, our assumptions on what adolescent manhood should look like, or being a young adult male, what that should look like, hasn't necessarily changed. And so we channel that angst into these different means that prevent us from treating the mundane with the priority that it needs in order for us to be a better version of ourselves down the road. And so it's not to harp on playing Xbox, because I love playing Xbox. It's a hobby of mine. I think more so it's a critique of the world at large, where, because the world doesn't know what to do with a lot of this young male angst, because there isn't that moment where you go to war and you come back a man anymore. There isn't that moment for us. And so what ends up happening is we kind of turn into man children, where we grow up, we never learned how to fend for ourselves or cook for ourselves and take that seriously. I know for me, when I moved out, once I finished grad school, when I moved out completely on my own to South Carolina, that was that rude awakening of, like, I haven't done the necessary life steps in becoming a man. And that means treating every Monday through Sunday with a level of intentionality that maybe before I lacked the maturity to, but now I have to, because it's either I do that or I die of starvation, or like, that's the reality of it. And so it's twofold. It's society leaves us ill-equipped, and we could kind of care less to pick up our end of the bargain until you're forced to. And so I found that in my journey of kind of rediscovering what does it mean to not only be a man but to have a healthy representation of masculinity, not one that's built off of kind of old and archaic stereotypes of being a man, but what does it mean, like what does it mean to be an emotional man, because I am very emotional, but what does it mean to present that in a way that's healthy? What does it mean to talk to my partner about my emotions in a way that's healthy? What does it mean to care for myself? Things like, getting a haircut, like those simple things about getting groomed, where you don't take it as seriously, but you realize that's part of, you know, who you are. It's part of being an adult, I guess. And I wonder, and I'd like to get your guys' perspective on this. I wonder if maybe society's lack of that christening moment of you turn from boy to man kind of leaves for this gray area where we're kind of floating around until we wake up and we're 25 and we're like, oh shoot, I'm 5 years away from 30. I better do something with my life.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll take that. I mean, I think I came to that realization later than what I expected. Like
Mm-hmm.
as I was turning 25, honestly, because I mean, I went to college, what, 3 hours away from home, and I thought, all right, like this is it. Like this is my coming out moment. Like I'm getting away from being comfortable in my little small town with, graduating with, 80 to 100 kids, and I knew them all. And, we have certain places to go around town and whatnot. So I went away and I was like, all right, I'm gonna come out of my shell. And then yeah, I had that realization there is like, oh, okay, I have to like fend for myself. I don't have my parents. I don't know anybody. And, luckily I was able to, kind of roll out of that. But even after that, it's like, okay, college is over. Now we have a job. I'm living on my own. And it's kind of that same thing where like, okay, you still have to fend for yourself. You have to, you have to cook. You have to, you Ian talked about it. You have to take care of yourself personally, like hygiene, stuff like that. And now since I've turned 25, I've kind of realized again, it's like we're 5 years away from like 30, and like I don't know. I think about it all the time. It's like I don't like comparing myself to others, but it's like okay, I'm 25. Like probably should be thinking about like you things later in life, like houses and relationships and all this other things like that. And I don't know. I kind of it's tough. I came to that realization. I think I know what I have to do, but yeah, it's very interesting. So,
I can't ever say I thought of the reason why that you brought up of you know we don't go to war anymore. I
it,
don't think that ever came into my head.
well, it came
Like
from
that's
you.
why I don't have it.
No, but it came from a Twitter meme, because it was people, Twitter, it always has, or
Yeah,
X I should
yeah,
say, people are always having like the gender wars, right? Like
of
girls
course.
are worse, guys are worse, everybody sucks. And this one woman, she had this very insightful post on X that I don't think she realized was as insightful as she said. It was under a video of a guy screaming at a football game. I think he had like placed a bet or something. And under that post, she just said, men used to go to war. And that's what got my brain thinking about maybe. And it's not saying that we should go to war, because I hate war.
yeah.
I think it's abhorrent, and
Right.
I think you couldn't pay me billions of dollars to murder people. And I will never go and die for a rich person, for a rich person's war. Um, but I do think that what our society is currently lacking is a mode of initiation into manhood, to show that you are you are no longer under that umbrella of, you know being a kid. That when you were a kid, you made childhood and childlike decisions, but now that you are a man, that means, to me, being a man means taking accountability and personal responsibility for the life that you live. Are you going to be someone with integrity, someone that is honest and kind and fair, um, or are you going to kind of let society push and pull you whichever way it goes? And I think that's what I mean more so when I say people go to war. It's like
Yeah.
that was the moment where a lot of people figured out what it is that they stood for. And I wonder if maybe us not having that form of moment for a lot of young men is leaving a lot of their experiences to be like ours, where we wake up one day and we're like, man, we got to do something because this isn't working.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think too. I mean, do you think you talked about society? I mean, I think it's, it could be more on like the parent side too, right? I mean, like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, uh, I mean, my dad is like, he works, 9 to 5, and I grew up thinking like, oh, okay, that's what you have to do, and maybe he got
Mm-hmm.
that from his parents, or maybe he got that from society, or whatever. But that's just like what I expected, and then I grew up and I was like, okay, I don't have to do this if I don't want to. So I think that's kind of tough too. But yeah, I mean, uh, finding meaning through that's pretty tough. It's been
It
tough.
is. And but I do think, and Drew, I'd like your perspective on this. Um, I do think there is intrinsic value, and at least in my mind, it clicked. Was when I started to take every day seriously. People always say, live every day like it's your last, and people use that as an excuse to kind of, for lack of a better term, pussyfoot around, where you're not taking anything seriously. Um, and it's not to say you can't have fun or you can't laugh or you can't cry or you can't sit back and enjoy a lazy, easygoing day. It's to say that you recognize the intentionality of every day. That's what I mean when I say you have to take your day seriously. And it was in that moment that it clicked for me that to take each day seriously means to then seek meaning in the everyday or the mundane. Because if you're seeking meaning in the mundane, you're going to feel fulfilled every day, regardless of what you do. Um, it's like that great Jimmy Valvano speech from the ESPYs. If you laugh, if you spend some time in thought, and if you cry, you've had a full day. You felt the full array of the human experience. And to me, that's how I make up finding meaning in the mundane. It's making sure that even if I have the most boring day on earth where all I did was work out, sleep, and work and eat, I still felt human in each of those actions. I felt grounded enough and present enough in that interaction to feel the vast array of human emotions that come with our experience. Um, and so, Drew, I mean, for you, do you agree with that assessment, or do you feel that it's something else?
I mean, I guess I would blanket statement. I'd say yeah, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, the whole thing you've been talking about, like when I'm most of the things I pick out, um, and I also wish I probably could get more introspective on this or have more input,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also trying to be better at not forcing myself to talk deeper just for the sake of it, because then
Mm-hmm.
I just start rambling on and saying random things. But because this topic that we have right now and that you've said a few things about, of just like, breaking out of that mundane mold and figuring out how to like actually find meaning in things, brought me
Mm-hmm.
back to the second episode we did with you,
Mm-hmm.
where we talked about like the personality boxing, and I talked a
Yes.
little bit about like not wanting to just be seen as how I was seen in college or high school. Like I want to be able to
Mm-hmm.
go do whatever I want to do and not have to be like looked at in a certain way because I acted one way a few years ago.
Right.
Um, but like the main thing I've picked out from everything you've said, like that, like just keeps coming back to me is just that like the intentionality and like living every day with that intention that you're going to accomplish the things that you think can push you forward, that will break
Mm-hmm.
you out of that mold. Because and it's not things that like I think I've actively been doing, but like me and Noah have been talking about these kinds of things for a few weeks now, like I guess months technically, but podcast wise, a few episodes in a row we've
Mm-hmm.
talked about these kinds of things. But a lot of it has just been talks for me. Like they've just been thoughts that I've had and talks that I've had with people where I'm like, um, like I thought about this about myself. Like I realized like the last 3 years that I've lived, like I haven't done this or that
Mm-hmm.
of like the way I've acted and the way I've treated people. And I've never actually like truly, I guess, taken steps for it. Um, so now that I think like this is finally time that I'm going to start like truly working towards whatever I think gets me to that point. And like I think starting this challenge is something that like pushes me in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, you know, I like finally trying to have the intention of like breaking out of my mold that I've been in for so
Mm.
long, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that feeling. In writing, we call it the chronic planner, the person that loves to plan every scene in every book or movie they want to write. Where you say, "I want to write a book," and then you're like, "Well, I have to plan out my book." And you start thinking of characters, you start thinking of a setting, you start thinking of a scene, and all of those things are very much needed when you're thinking of the story you want to write. But there comes a point in the planning process where you're planning because you really don't want to sit down and commit to writing. Um, and to your point, Drew, I felt, at least within myself, a bit of that on the writing front, but on the life front, where there'd be things that I'd want to do, and you keep just saying, "I'm going to do that. I want to do that. Yeah, I'm thinking about how I'll do that." Um, but to really live every day like it's your last, as the cliche goes, is to commit those plans to action. And I guess I want to know why it takes us, it takes all of us, it seems, so long to commit our plan to action. What is it that we fear in that process? Because we know that we'll be better for it on the other side. Or at least if we're not better, we'll feel accomplished that we tried. So, what is it that we really fear?
Uh, Personally, I'll say, even though I know we've said like somehow with all of our different backgrounds and everything, we all come to this same exact like thing that we all struggle against and try to figure out. I'll say personally for me, because I can't speak on your guys' behalf with this. I think a little bit of it is ignorance on my part.
Hmm.
That, like I said before, I had that comfortability where I was just like getting through days. I was doing what got me to where I could have been, not really could have been, but was getting me through the day and getting it to where no one was going to complain and I wasn't going to complain. Because like as a joking side to it of like realizing like I really did not like just know certain things or just like take care of myself in certain ways that like you would normally think. I figured out today that 3.5 liters is how much water you're actually supposed to drink in a day. Because when I was looking at this challenge and everything, I was like, 3.5 seems like a lot. Like I'm gonna scale that one down. So I started looking up what's the average amount of water you should drink in a day, and every website just 3 point. I was like, oh, 3.5 is okay. Now we're not scaling that one down then. All right. I didn't know that. I'm
Hmm.
25 years old and I just never knew how much water you should drink in a day. I'm sure I've heard it here and there of like what 16 cups or whatever it is, 8, I don't know. But in my mind that I don't do the conversion to cups to liters or anything like that cuz that's weird. But like it's just things like that or it's like how I've been telling Noah like I just turned 25 in October and like how am I just now questioning these things about myself and my life and how am I just not figuring out that like other people see me in different ways than I see myself. And like
Hmm.
it's it's just I think for me it was a little bit of ignorance and just not actually being intentional and working on myself.
Mm. What do you
Yeah,
think it was
yeah,
for you, Noah?
yeah. I think I kind of agree with Drew there. I think it's just ignorance. I think for me, I mean, laziness. I mean,
Hmm.
it's just or going by the other cliche of if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know, I mean,
Hmm.
I've been able to live on this earth for 25 years, doing what I want, eating what I want, stuff like that, and I've been fine. But as Drew said, I've came to this realization that it's like, all right, we need to take a step back here and really like think about, life down the road, and whether that be health things, diet things, uh, stuff like that. I just think it's just tough, and I think for me, I have trouble doing it like by myself. That's why I've loved like having Drew kind of like by my side, where it's like we can kind of do it together because I really
Hmm.
think that I always tell myself I'm gonna do it, and then I just never do. So
Mm-hmm.
having someone to kind of like push me along really helps. And obviously, it'd be nice to just not. But I mean, not. It's nice to have Drew, but like it'd be nice to like just tell myself do it, and then I just do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like that it helps that I have someone else to help me
Yeah.
out there. So um, yeah.
Yeah. I I'd have to agree. I don't know if it was ignorance more so, at least on my account, than it wasn't ignorance because I didn't know. It was willful ignorance, and I think willful ignorance is is the more egregious of the two, because ignorance just means you don't know. Willful ignorance means you're choosing to not care, and I that's what I beat myself up the most of in my past. Um, because I really learned in grad school that I wasn't necessarily bad at school. I just didn't care to be good at it. Um, and I thought about the fact that, I got a full ride to grad school because I actually started to care in undergrad. And I was like, now imagine if I could go back and tell sophomore year Ian, like, if you just care enough about school, you'd get it for free. Um, and I, I don't think I was ready to hear that message at the time, because when you're young, you're only concerned about kind of being liked and being seen as, cool or funny or whatever it may be. Um, and that was to me the most damaging, in that I knew what I had to do, but I chose to not care. Whenever I vividly remember Mr. Kurtz telling us to journal every day, and then now here I am as an adult, and I journal as frequently as I feel that I need to. Some months it's every day, other months it's twice a week. It, but even that act, and I don't think Mr. Kurtz wanted us to journal every single day, but just get in the habit of it. When I was in 12th grade, I didn't see the value in that. When now looking back, I wish I had, because then with those journals, I would have had something authentic to speak to the experience I was going through then. And that is willful ignorance on my part. It's, I know this thing would be good for me, but I choose not to do it. Like when the doctor tells you, oh, you need to watch what you eat, and then you go leave the doctor's appointment and you need to go have a donut. At that point, it's willful ignorance.
Yeah.
And being a chubby kid growing up, believe me, I did that several times. um, and it wasn't until I started liking women that I figured out I should probably at least work out a little bit. Um,
Yep.
and and now it's that my workouts are different. They're not as built focused on aesthetics, more so focused on things that are functional, like being able to walk around when you're older. So that means core strength and stretching, and a lot of endurance workouts. And I look back at who I was and I say, it's not that you necessarily know 10 times more now, it's that you just care more enough to want to try now. And I think that's more damning. And that it's one thing if you don't know how much water you should drink in a day. It's another thing if someone's repeatedly told you and you just choose not to. Um, and that's been kind of the harshest reality I've had to accept. That I've done a lot of good things in my life so far, but the things that I've failed at, it's simply because I didn't think to put enough effort or care into them, and that always will fall on me at the end of the day.
Yep. Yep. I agree. I mean, I fight with that every day. I think just a lack of effort, lack of discipline on my part, really
Hmm.
is what holds me back sometimes. So yeah.
But it's funny because when you start living with that intentionality, to bring up that word again, it that intentionality brings about discipline. When you say that I care about the life that I live, that's when you're like, okay, I don't feel like it, but I'm going to go work out because it's an investment in my future self. In the moment, I think that it the seed was planted in my mind for this thought came when my friend John died. My friend John, he died of sarcoma. He had bone cancer. He was 33 and he had a newborn son, not even a year old. Um, and he died. You know, he had cancer, but he touched so many people. He was a famous, not quasi famous in NBA circles. He covered the NBA for The Ringer, and he and I got really close in the last 3 years of his life because I was a college student and I had just sent an email out about like, oh, I want to, be a better NBA writer. Like, what can I do? And he, instead of, sending an email back about tips, he goes, meet me for lunch. So I met him for lunch downtown, and that started us on this kind of habit of meeting once a month to talk about writing, to talk about life. And the thing that characterized him was that he was this guy that was a former atheist that became a Christian, and he would start every conversation with what's your hottest take, and then he'd end every conversation with, well, how can I pray for you? And he's not one of those people that would say I'll pray for you and then forgets. Like the next month he'd ask how that thing was. Like, oh, you said your family was struggling, with this, how is that going now? And he cared. And after he died, because he had been in Colorado when I was in Colorado, and so we met up for lunch at this burger place. And his cancer had gotten pretty bad by then, where he couldn't really walk more than a few feet without being in pain. But he went out of his way to see me, and he was on his way to go skiing. And I asked him, I said, "Is it safe for you to ski?" And he looks at me, he goes, "Ian, I'm dying. I'm going skiing." And when he died on over Labor Day weekend. Um, and I thought a lot about his life. And I thought a lot about how many people he touched and the number of people that showed up at his funeral, and the amount of outreach his wife had when he died. And I thought about what he always told me. Um, one of his biggest prayers for me was that I'd find a church community that I'd feel at home in. That was one of his things he wanted for me. And he said, it's important because we're not supposed to do life alone. And this is the roundabout way of saying that he taught me a lot about intentionality, and that the life he lived was short but consequential because he had this weird ability to recognize each moment, that if he was with you, he'd give you his 100%. Um, and then he'd do it again and again and again. And it wasn't because he wanted to, you know, reap all these rewards in heaven or whatever. He could care, frankly, he could care less, right? Like, this was a guy that was a former atheist, and he said he became a Christian because he goes, I became a Christian because, I don't know, it just started to make sense to me, and so I figured, why not? And and so that's who he was. But even before he became a Christian, the thing that marked his existence was his ability to seize the day with a level of intentionality. And ever since he died, I've told myself that I want to try to mirror the life that he lived. Because, again, though he died young, he touched people because he found meaning in the simple interaction of eating a grilled cheese with some 19-year-old that sent you an email and showing him that he mattered. And maybe that's what we're all called to do in creating meaning out of our everyday existence, is to show others that they too matter.
I mean, that's a beautiful story all around.
Yeah.
Unbelievable human. To this day, one of the greatest humans I've ever met.
Yeah. But no, I really like that last part. Showing people they matter. That's really important, I think. And it's still like, as much as, we've talked recently on like doing a lot of things for yourself, building up yourself, becoming a better person just for your own sake, for your
But think
well-being.
about why you do that.
So important with other people.
It's like you invest in yourself to be the best version of yourself to other people. When like think about it. Like when we were all younger and kind of carefree, like don't get me wrong. Like people hung out with us, people liked us, um, and the depth of those relationships varied. But I think now when we're guided by wanting to be the best version of ourselves, there's a level of depth with our relationships that couldn't have been reached if we were still choosing to be comfortable and stay in what was comfortable.
Mm.
It's that line from
Yeah.
Coach Carter of "You don't snuff out your light." You know what I'm talking? Do you remember that scene? I don't know if you guys saw Coach Carter,
Oh, Coach
where
Carter's good. Oh
No.
yeah. Oh yeah.
he cancels the game because everyone's failing, and then the one guy wants back on the team. I think his name was Cruz, and he
Mm-hmm.
goes that no, like the world isn't better if we choose to not let our light shine. That's a lot of what I think about. The world isn't better by us choosing not to care about the things that we should care about. The world is far worse. Humanity is worse. I mean, think about the guy that invented penicillin. If he just woke up that day and said, "Hey, I don't care," you know, like we wouldn't have all these antibiotics, and we'd still have like polio ravishing communities. The world isn't any better by us choosing not to invest in ourselves. The world is actually far worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's huge because like we we did the talk of like everything that you love and everything that motivates you,
Mm-hmm.
and as much as like you should love yourself and you should be able to motivate yourself, and being a better you should make you want to do better things. Like everyone else's list that I've talked to, 99% of it is all outside things. It's
Mm.
people, it's this, it's that, it's job, it's everything outside of who they actually like. I mean, it's everything that makes them who they are, but it's everything outside of, if I'm talking to Noah, it's everything that's not Noah Finley.
Mm.
It's his family, it's his friends, it's his job, it's his whatever it is. It's so many things that you ask everyone about. Like if you just ask people like name the things you love, and like just keep listening until they hit themselves. Like so much of what you love and what you do is still other people, and that's the reason you do it.
Yeah.
Like I love that people can do things for themselves, and I'm working a lot harder hopefully now. Thought about it a lot, mostly is what it is. But like I would love to be able to say everything I do in my life I do because I want to be a better me.
Mm-hmm.
But also so much of that comes down to I want to do it for my family. I want to do it for my friends. I want to do it for my future life of what that's going to be in 10,
Mm-hmm.
15, 20, 30, 40 years.
Right. Because being a better you means that a better you is then better able to give back. I
Mm-hmm.
in At work I've talked a lot about this recently. Is that in journalism you see how guided by community we are. The things that hurt one person in the community hurt the entire community, um, and those ripple effects can be felt around the world. Um, and so we're communal creatures. But what ends up happening, like a failed kidney, if one individual in that community isn't working to be the better version of themselves every day, if atrophy is allowed, eventually that burden is felt by the entire community. If you have one failing kidney and you don't do anything about it, eventually that burden will be felt by the other failing kidney. Um, And so when you invest in yourself to then invest in others and inspire them, hopefully, to do the same. Because meaning is curated in community. The currency of meaning is relationships. Um, that's our legacy. Nobody knows what happens when we die, but I can tell you that when my grandma died, she had a village come to her funeral because everyone loved her, and that legacy lives on in at least what we know. And so, yeah, I think you're right that you invest in yourself because you want to invest and then give out that investment to others. So
Yeah.
maybe that's meaning at the end of the day, man.
Yeah. I
Oh,
think there's tons of it. You know, it can come down to so many things, and I think that's what's, if you kind of look at it that way, it's kind of like the beautiful thing of life that you can choose so many different things that make you who you are and make your lasting legacy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess the last question I have is that since both of you and myself have kind of been thinking about it a lot, when you think about meaning, when you think about the day to day, and when you think about kind of how life can feel mundane at times, in all of that, what is it that you want your legacy to be? That I know these are subject to change as the years go on, but if something happened tomorrow and we were all dead at 25, what would you want your legacy to be?
Um, I mean,
I'll try to give as clear an answer as possible because it's probably a tough question, I think. Um, but like the main thing that I do think about is just like it comes down to community still of like it's like one of the first things on our website, I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna go fact check myself. Um yeah. Hypervision, self-proclaimed number one podcast in the world, because I have to have a joke somewhere in my life usually. And then community for progress and growth. That's the first real sentence on our website.
Mm-hmm.
So because that's something that like it's so important to me. If like look at how many people we have on pro clubs this year, and I know we've talked about Xbox on here so many times. It's gonna come up because we're all nerds. I don't care. I have a Reptar thing on my wall. We all know we're nerds. All right, like
My laptop is sitting on a sloth lap desk, so.
but like as fun as I've had of a time on FIFA, sometimes it happens. But like I don't just play pro clubs with all of these guys because I love pro clubs. I do it because that's some sort of way we can all get on there and we can all experience a moment together. Like we can all share times together and we can all have this thing that like is as stupid as it is that we're kicking the ball into a net on a screen.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's usually going into ours more, but like it's a stupid thing at the end of the day when you look at it from that perspective. But like it's a beautiful thing that like in a half hour here, we're about to get 4, 5, 6, 7 guys on here and we're just gonna talk, we're gonna hang out, we're gonna laugh, we're gonna make fun of people. Noah's gonna get yelled at, like it's gonna happen. And that's just a small snippet of it because we do that a lot. Like that's something we do a lot. So that's my first thing that came to my mind too. But like just I've been talking about this challenge. Like I've thrown it out to a lot of Tyler's friends. I threw it out to Andrew. Like I'll throw it out to more people and I'll start posting about it. Like that's because I love that community feel. That like whether or not I'm not even putting out the challenge there because I'm like this is some get like Mike Tyson in 2 months type thing. No, I barely think I'll look any different in 3 months from now
Mm-hmm.
because of this challenge. I just want mentally to feel so much better.
Yeah.
That's mainly what it is. So that's the side part there. But I'm putting it out there because like it's a community type thing. I'm putting it out there because I think this is something that's super beneficial. Noah agrees with me, I believe. And the guys that have told me that like they're going to do it too is because they see the benefit from this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to put it out there. And it's so much nicer that like Noah said, you have that community with you. Like Noah has me is what he's saying. I have Noah. I have all these guys out here that like, it's a community of like, I'm going to put this out here. We're going to do this together. We're going to grow and we're going to like, it's just a whole thing. So that's as clear of an answer as I think I can give is like, I want my legacy to kind of go down as I maybe not built a community, but I did everything I could to keep a community around me, a positive and uplifting one.
That's good.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I tend to agree. I think for me, it's just that like that family style. I feel like I've always found myself. Um, I don't know if I want to say peak performance, but uh, where I've found myself to be the best at, whether that's mentally or anything like that, was within a family setting.
Mm.
you know, dating back to high school, playing sports. You know, I love that, you know, competitiveness, family setting. I was able to get that in college. I helped out on the basketball team. That was the same kind of ordeal now. And I think I sometimes find that in work, but I definitely find it within the friend group for sure. Um,
Mm.
and I think that that does date back to, you know, playing Xbox with people. Um,
Mhm.
I'm just trying to think, like, yeah, it's really that family setting, but um, trying to think of what else. Like, it's just such a, it's just tough because like you think it's like, what would you be? I don't know if what would you be remembered for? I don't know if that's a good way to put it. Like if you were to let's just say pass away tomorrow, or what would you want to be remembered for? Um,
Mhm.
I don't know. That's just being the best person that I possibly could have been.
Yeah.
I don't know, and that's a very broad, vague answer, but
But
um,
it's authentic, you know? It's
yeah,
being comfortable in who you are. That's how you become the best person. Like not everyone is gonna be Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Martin
sure,
Luther King Jr.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But you can be the best you. You can be someone that is kind and honest and cares about their family and their friends and worked hard. And I think that's also good enough, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
And I think going back to your point, I feel like I wasn't taught that at a young age. You know, I
mhm.
wasn't taught you know, think like this, right? You know, it's I was just taught, hey, you go here, you do this, you know, and then I started to
Mhm.
realize, hey, like there's more to life than just, you know, going through all the cliche things of, you know, college work and all this. You know, do some own, you know, do some of your own learning. You know,
Mhm.
read books. Uh, you know, just explore the world. You know, there's literally a whole world out there. I've talked to Drew about it. Uh, I want to go places. You know, what do other cultures do? You know, what differs us from other places in the world? You know, stuff like that.
Noah the
Just doing.
anthropologist? Okay.
I'm just curious. You know, Drew and
Yeah.
I mean, Drew and I talked about it. You know, seeing world wonders. You know, it's like
Mhm.
I know we talk about cultures and things, but this is more on the touristy side, I suppose. But like, will I ever like see the Eiffel Tower one day in person? I don't know, maybe. But it'd just be cool to
Mhm.
like see that and, you know, talk to people there and I don't know, all that stuff. But there's so much more to um, this life that we have than what we were taught, I think, at a young age. And I think now I'm just starting to realize that as I get older
Mhm.
now. So yeah.
Yeah. Mm. There's so much more to life, and I'm glad I had books. Um, books always helped, but in a way, FIFA always helps too. And I've told Drew about it a lot, and it, to his point about being a community creator. Because I don't know if like Noah, you know how the whole pro club shtick started. It all started at least on my end one day where Drew and I would always play FIFA in the senior lounge, and then we both had FIFA 17 and just started playing pro clubs, and we I don't think we were any good when we first started. I'm pretty sure we like lost the first like 10 games we played, and I was in my pretty typical scoring droughts, but over that year, and it was one of the hardest years of my life, in the throes of like the stuff with my sister, and my parents would be flying to Texas, kind of leaving me by myself a lot. Drew and I would play FIFA, and we'd laugh, we'd talk, I'd cry, I'd laugh some more. And again, it's something so simple as, you know, an online game that will make you more mad than it will ever make you happy, but it it made my at least my senior year a year worth remembering because those were the things that got me through. It was I looked forward to after school, um, for nothing else other than you know playing basketball at the Y and then playing FIFA. And that's the
Mm,
power of community and having someone that intentionally creates community. And I think, Drew, to your point of your legacy, I think that will be your legacy because you've cared enough to do it. Even before the introspection, it was kind of your natural disposition.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
I
dude,
appreciate that.
I mean, Drew is the one that got me into pro clubs. I've besides like Call of Duty, like this is like I know we're just talking about gaming now, but this will point back to the community aspect. So like besides Call of Duty, like pro club has been the game that's been like I've met the most people like online, like gaming wise, I guess you could say,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just been that it's been that community aspect. Like we get on, we hang out, we talk, we shoot the shit, I guess if you want to call it that. We just talk about random stuff. We make fun of each other. We crack jokes. All this stuff, and then yeah, it just goes back to that. Just community aspect. And I didn't know what soccer was. Whenever I didn't know what soccer was until I met Drew and Tyler and them in college. I didn't know. We didn't have it where I went to school. It was a small town, and I just never thought of it. And now that I met them, soccer's awesome. I've gotten to know it a lot
Mm-hmm.
more. I like playing the game. I like the sport itself is good. I watch it now, and yeah, so it's been really good. So I have Drew to thank for that. So part of that community.
Just took me 2 years to bully him into pro clubs.
It did. It did. It did. I was pretty. I was like, no. I was like, I already pay money for Madden. I'm not going to pay other more money on an EA game. It's just not going to happen. And then yeah, I
Now
just
look
broke
at
down
us.
and got it. Yep.
I tell myself the same thing every year, and yet here I go buying FIFA.
Yep. Yep. So
Yeah.
gaming's a beautiful thing, man. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's been one of the things in life that I don't think I'll ever quit here shortly. Especially now that GTA 6 got announced. I got to see that through. I got to see it through.
I don't think
So
I'll ever stop gaming. It's carried
yeah.
me through a lot of bad times, and
Oh yeah. Yeah.
you
100%.
know, I that it's that and storytelling, and games kind of have stories in them. Unless you're playing FIFA, then it's just
Yep.
mess.
Yep.
So, well, that's all I had on my front.
I will say one last thing. Hopefully you won't mind me sharing
Mm-hmm.
this, but this was from it brought back a memory from when you're talking about like I was playing pro clubs in high school and all this stuff of like um and my thing of wanting to have that community type feel of like something that pushes me still to this day of just like something that like I can call back to of like I did make an impact because back in COVID, like when it first like actual lockdown, we were all in
Mm-hmm.
school still and everything. So all we had to do was school at that point, really, and like which no one did that. And
Those lectures
so
are
I
on
was
in the
streaming
background.
every single day, pretty much. Like I was playing FIFA, I was playing Warzone,
Mm-hmm.
and like most of my day would go like the first part of the day I'd play FIFA for a few hours and I'd stream that. Then I'd go play Warzone for like 12 hours,
And then we played
and
GTA
then
5 like 2 a.m.
yep, yep, it was great. But I would stream those like FIFA career modes where I'd make all of us, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd put us in a terrible league, try to build us up. And I mean, it was probably one of the worst career modes I've had. I feel like it made me delete the game at one point. And I just like, but like I did that for a long time. And I remember Ian texting me at one point, like, like just like saying like, I really appreciate you doing all those streams and like, like doing this, like putting me in these things and talking to me during them. Like, like, because as fun as a time as I had and a lot of times this COVID stuff, like with that lockdown, like it was a tough time for a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
like, you're kind of on your own depending on what your situation was there. Like not a lot going on. You can't leave the house for a while, like everything's shut down. There's so many things of your life that you built up for the last, I guess we were 20 at that point, maybe something like that.
Mm-hmm.
21. And it's 21 years of your life that you just, so much of it's gone and you couldn't do anything. And like, in the moment, I was just like, oh yeah, cool. Like, I appreciate that. Thanks, man. I'm glad you've been enjoying it. Like, just having fun playing video games because that's really all I can do. But like, like that kind of thing is something I strive for. Like, whether or not I know it, like, because at that point I didn't know it until you said anything. Is like, I never know, and like anyone can never know the impact that they can make just by going out and doing something.
Yep.
Uh, that's why I want to do the things that I do and everything that, like, with a brand, with my job, with my life, whatever it is. Like, you just never know the impact you can make by just talking to people and including them and doing things and posting things and putting things out there. But that was something that, like, I still think about sometimes, that like pushes me to, like, that like I loved that feeling, kind of in the least ego way, but a little ego, I guess. I don't know. But it's something that pushes you, is because I was so happy I could make that impact for someone that I care about.
Yeah, and it's a lesson for all of us. Honestly, it doesn't take much to just go out of your way to, because what you may think is this massive deal, it really, to make someone's day, it just takes the small things. Like if you have a extra piece of candy, give it to someone. If you're playing a game, include someone. Um, because I mean, in my 24, 25-ish years of life, that's what I've constantly been reminded, that life is built on the small moments, on the instances in between the big events, right? The the anniversaries, the weddings, the birthdays, the funerals, everything in life happens between those. And so, what are you going to do? What little things are you going to do along the way that are going to matter? And who would have thought that FIFA could teach us all that?
That's our bookend right there. Buy FIFA, play pro clubs. There you go.
There's the
Sum up the last
hyperliving.
hour and 15 minutes right there.
EA's gonna love us.
I want my money. The only positive advertising they've had in years from a fan. No, but I in all seriousness, obviously, great talk, obviously, here. I loved every part of that,
Yeah.
like Noah said, whenever you get on here, it's almost like a treat for us. Like, we're just
thank
here
you for
getting a
having
lesson.
me. Man, this is your
Yeah.
world, man. I'm just happy to be here, and I'm glad we could find some time to do this, and hopefully do it a little bit more if y'all don't get tired of me.
Never.
Well, I mean, we're about to go play FIFA with you. Like,
Never.
We're booked up for the night.
Alrighty.
Yeah, but we'll catch you guys next time. We got more topics with Ian still, because we didn't cover everything you wanted still.
Yeah,
so
we still got.
he'll be back.
I'll be back in the future.
So that's all then.
Alrighty.
Peace.
Peace to Greece.
I like that.